So I really, really like his local restaurant. I call it barrio hipster chic because that's what it is. It's like literally a hole in the wall. And I love eating there because of the vibe and the quality of the food, etc. But I noticed the chef and owner one time preparing a meal for me where he was sticking his hands pretty much in the fire to bring out a tostada. I'm like, oh shit. And he does something similar when he makes sopes. This is Mexican food, by the way. And he's like burning his fingers to like make little round things like around the edge of the masa, the corn dough. So I could see that he was outside of his boundaries. He probably thinks he's within his boundaries because he wants to make this food and this is the way to make the food, but he's burning his skin. And I am uncomfortable with that because I don't want anyone to prepare food for me when they're burning their skin in order to prepare the food. So what do I do about this? Do I tell him, don't prepare my food that way? It's against my boundaries that you burn yourself. Or should I order things off the menu where he doesn't have to do that kind of thing? It's interesting, right? And he probably thinks he's within his boundaries, but like I'm more bothered than he is. So in some ways, I care about his boundaries more than he does. So this brings me to this topic of like liking to hurt yourself and not really thinking much of it. Many people do this. I mean, almost everyone does this, right? Like a lot of people, especially in the West, overwork. They're literally addicted to work. So they hurt themselves using work as an excuse. Or it's really easy to have a needy family member, whether they need like material help, like money, or they need like emotional help, like they need you to visit them every weekend, or they need you to solve their legal problems. So you be the brain and they be the dumb one, you know, this kind of thing. So some kind of needy family member that you feel beholden to. I remember listening to an interview with a woman, an actress who had just completed an action movie where she broke one of her ribs during filming. She was so proud of herself. She was saying, I broke a rib during filming, and to me, that's a badge of honor. And again, I was disgusted. You hurt yourself, you broke a rib to make a movie? No movie is worth that. The gain is not worth the cost. But for her, she was confused. I mean, she's allowed to have her own boundaries, but in my opinion, breaking a rib goes against the boundaries of your body. It's very similar or different, but similar to burning your fingers, you know, repeatedly. So I also had difficulty kind of supporting this actress in general because of how she thought of the lack of importance of her body and like the overimportance of making of the film. You know, so same with the food, the lack of importance of the body and the overimportance of making of the food. And same with all these other people, right? Like the lack of importance of your body and your health, and like disregarding what stress does to you, et cetera, or lack of sleep or whatever, or not having a personal life, not having rest, and overimportance of the work, you know, or overimportance of the experience of the family member. So basically, almost everyone does this to some extent, using some object outside of them as a more important thing. And I think this is something that we really need to talk about because hurting yourself doesn't always mean something like you're addicted to drugs and alcohol and you like cut yourself with a razor. Hurting yourself can mean thinking that your family member's experience is more important than yours. I recently was having a conversation with a man in his late 20s who was living it up in New York City. He loved it. He absolutely loved it. And he was studying something where he could make a really good income and have a really nice, like enjoying himself kind of lifestyle in New York City, not the struggling artist living out in the boonies, living like an hour and a half on the subway type of lifestyle, Manhattan lifestyle. And I'm like, oh, so how long are you going to stay there? And he was just going to go back home to California the next year. And I'm like, why? You know, your late 20s in New York, especially as you graduate into a career that's well paid and you can actually enjoy New York and have an apartment in Manhattan, what the F, you know? He was like, well, I know that my mom would like it. Okay, again, this is back to the actress in the movie. The cost is not worth the gain. The cost is not worth the gain. Your mom is like only in her 50s. She is very physically healthy. She does not need you to take care of her. She's not bedridden. She is a fully grown adult woman who's in charge of her own happiness. And you don't make or break her happiness in life. Even if you're her son, there's a thing called the natural order of things, where in order for you to be a man and not a boy, you have to live your own life. This is the hero's journey. Like, if you are concerned about what your mom thinks or feels to the cost of you, you haven't graduated into adulthood, you're still a boy. Does this make sense? You are giving your life force energy to your mother in a way that, in my opinion, is inappropriate. So what if you live in New York for like 2 more years or something? I think the gain for you is worth your being within your own boundaries. And here, you can see boundaries to mean in terms of like the food preparation and the making of the movie, like the boundaries of your body, your physical body, or overwork at work is like the boundaries of your body. But here, I'm talking more about your highest vibrational outcome, direct pleasure on you, like direct pleasure to you. Here he is doing the classic, I'm happy that she's happy. Like his happiness is derived from her happiness. So that is indirect pleasure. In the wheel of consent, that is considered indirect pleasure. I'm happy that you're happy. And to me, that's a classic red flag that he is going against his own body's wishes. He's violating his own boundaries. So this is a way of hurting yourself. So to take yourself away from New York prematurely, it's not like he's done with it or something like that. He's placing his mother's pleasure over his own in his late 20s. And to me, this is really dangerous because the older he gets, the more that egoic structure he has created for himself. Mom is more important than me. It's just going to harden and harden and harden. And he's like kind of sliding into slavehood, energetic slavehood. Another person might call this being an empath, where you support the lifestyle of someone else. You support the ideas or pleasure of someone else, and you don't really think about yourself. So an empath, in my opinion, is addicted to hurting themselves, and they just use other people and situations as excuses to hurt themselves, but they're addicted to hurting themselves. So maybe his mom's not around for whatever reason, any reason. He might find a girlfriend and do that with her instead, right? Or he might do that with a charity or something. He gives all of his lifeblood to the charity. So it's really easy for your ego to find excuses to hurt yourself. And hurting yourself can be really, really subtle. And today I talked about the boundaries of your body, and also an energetic boundary where you just think that someone else's experience is more important than yours. And that's the thing that all of these examples had in common today, that you think that something or someone else's experience is more important than your own boundaries. And to me, this is something that we need to be very, very serious about if we want to be on any kind of healing journey, if we want to respect ourselves, and if we want to be sovereign beings. All right. Thank you for listening. Bye.